Hey guys, it's Alan. Alan Brewer Nielsen. I have Brewer Nielsen just because my biological dad and my stepdad's name mixed together. So Nielsen, stepdad, Brewer, biological. And so that's why I have two names Brewer Nielsen, Alan Brewer Nielsen. Anyway, I'm back. We're talking about I wouldn't say my favorite discussion, but the one that's most pertaining to me is being a targeted individual. And get my light going here. Yeah, a little better. And it's that a little bright is I don't know if that works better, but being a TI, what they call targeted individual, it's literally for people who've never heard, especially with V2k. It's a program that our wonderful government has. Looks like a yarmulke there, and I don't know if that works any better or not, but and it's to torture people. It's a little torture program. You can find it anywhere on Ella Free, Romola D, Catherine Horton. There's a bunch of Vulcan Wolverine. Uh, Next, uh, Next is good. NEXX is good. And this shit's been going around for at least 15, 20 years. I mean, as far as people knowing about each other, finding there's targeted in Massachusetts. Um, but what it is our government experimenting on innocent people, and I do mean innocent. Sometimes there's a theory it could be even children and babies and putting implants, and I mean, and it really doesn't matter if it's a big city or a small town or with all the churches in the world. I come from a little place called Dallas, Oregon, and raised evangelical, conservative, all that, and a lot of you know what that's like. And I even studied to be an apologist. So that's what I wanted to be, was a defender of the faith, Christian evolution. I was most likely to be teaching creationism in 10 years. But the only thing I know is I was always living, it's a side pain that started happening when I was about 15, 16, really coming on around 18, 19, going to doctors in North Dakota. I went to a Bible college, and anyways, just pain. It just constantly just pain all the time on my side. Started to meditate or whatever, and I had no idea what it was. Go to doctors, and but what happened is I had an operation when I was about 14, sophomore in high school, broke my arm in football. And in football, and of course you go in, and the doctor does what they're supposed to do. You think they give you your operation, fix your bone or whatever, and you come back. But I noticed within a year or two, I also had just a constant pain on my side. Not constant, but it would be once in a while, just a double over sharp pain. And I know when I broke my arm in football, my rib cage was fine. Up here was fine. It was my shoulder and right here. But my rib cage didn't hurt at all. My heart area or nothing was fine. But within a year, year and a half of the operation, I started getting these little intermediate little pains about it. And it's like, well, what the hell is that? I mean, nobody tells you that, oh, yeah, when you're under, we did this secret operation and put in a device without your knowledge, without your permission, and without your okay or your parents' okay when you're 13 or 14. And because the hospital or the doctor, because they're so much more important, gets financial grants if you do this. You get grants from medical pharmaceutical companies. If you do, or your city hall does, or the doctor does, gets these grants for experimentation. It's like and if a good show to watch for this is Full Measure. You can watch this on Full Measure with Cheryl Atkinson. And this was a year or two ago. But Cheryl Atkinson, Full Measure, talks about human beings being used as guinea pigs, literally without their knowledge. Some of them are prisoners being used for devices that were not okayed by the FDA, but they're prisoners, but so what? And another medication that was used on babies, premature babies that are in the ICU, on babies, not 18-year-olds or 15 or 14 like me, but babies. And they didn't even warn, the doctors didn't warn or tell or notify the parents. And some of these babies ended up dying. And, they got um, no punishment. The drug company, the medical device company got no punishment, no, just a verbal whatever, but nothing. And so people are literally guinea pigs. And the best Christian America, the United States is a Christian nation, the greatest country in the world, routinely does this to their own people, big cities or small towns. And if it doesn't go well, or if the person survives and finds out about the experimentation, and that's where we are now. We're in the targeted individual program. We're in a program to hide and cover up this medical experimentation. And at least, I'm not sure, I'm not saying all targeted individuals are, that's why they're in it, but a lot of it, whether it's to cover up an implant, medical devices, and now that we're finding out about it, what's going on, and a lot of it's torture tech that some of the police and the city hall are in on, and they got money for it too. So they're in it because they have to cover up this little program that they've been getting money for. You would think anybody with a fucking ounce of common sense would say, well, isn't that wrong or illegal? Well, certainly immoral, but we're a Christian town, Christian whatever. But now they got the town and the leaders of that town planning to kill you or put enough pressure on you to where you kill yourself, and they get to hush up about their little con they're pulling and how they're getting all this money, because without your knowledge or permission, just like those medical teams, they did it with, they put an implant or a medical device without your knowledge, without your okay, without your parents okay, and now they're going to torture you until you give up and commit suicide or try to. And that's what is happening in Dallas, Oregon, and Salem, where I live now. And it's funny because when you live and raised in a small town, you think, well, everybody's good. I remember jumping out of the window because of this thing, and also the arm thing. I literally tried to end it, ever in my first time and only time in my life. No matter what depression or the constant pain, I never tried that before. Whatever times of little depression or OCD with religion, scrupulosity, but I never tried it. But then they did this, and it's like I can hear the V2k griping to themselves, complaining like children. Wow, he just won't give up. He won't give up. Well, now that I know what they're doing, and now that I know what the city of Dallas did to me, whether it be some of the doctors in the hospital, the city hall, I want to make sure that this goes down in their history books to where the pressure on them is so shitty that their entire town will have to change its name. It's like that movie The Changeling with Angelina Jolie, where the police, again, the police. I'm saying this in I think June of 2020, where all over the news the people are fed up of police, not only corruption but brutality against black people, Hispanic people, and in white people. I'm a white guy. I'm a honky. I'm a white cracker. All these lights, look at that. I'm a whitey cracker. But I never had a problem with the police or City Hall. I didn't even know any of their names. And then they all converge to this torture thing on me, trying to get me to, and they almost got it. I showed up and I had to learn to walk around Dallas, had to learn to walk again. Months and months of that with a big cast on my arm. And the place where I worked at Dallas Retirement, and they were in on it. But nobody had any honesty, and all this talk about Christianity and conservative, very conservative Christian place. But there are liberals there too, so it's rounded in that sense. But not one person said anything or had an ounce of Christian character or moral character, family values character, not one. And so they were more interested in saving their ass, their reputation, and not letting the secret out, hoping I would die, give up the ghost. But now, yeah, I mean, I found out, and I went to Ella Free's Freedom for Targeted Individuals, and I found out in Europe, in front of the BBC and all the people. So the gig's up. So then I went out in front of the police station and I wrote in chalk a couple times, dumbass cops right across from the station, and V2k. And that's why I wrote V2k for the torture. And they can hear me right now. And so V2k and the dumbass cops. And it's not the smartest, but yeah, you got to do something to let them know, hey, you want to raise awareness to let people know that they're doing it, to you. You want to raise awareness. Myron May tried to raise awareness. Alexis, that this shit's going on. And you've heard of stuff in the past, and you think, okay, MK Ultra, Bill Clinton made an apology. They wised up from their error of their ways. They're not going to do something that evil, that stupid, at least not with the internet where people talk. Nope. They're doing it still with the internet, and they're just thinking, well, they have enough power, and they do have a lot of power. They can control all the computer gadgets, all the electrical gadgets in your house that's connected to the plug-in. So anything that's electrical plugged in or that kind of digital that's plugged in, and they can control it. They can manipulate it, turn it off, move your little mouse on your computer. They all have it at the Fusion Center, your TV, your computer. It's all to where you'll either do something to freak out, get mad and freak out, and get tossed out of your apartment or tossed out and get locked up. And the whole thing is just to make you look erratic, stupid, get you locked up, and hopefully when you're locked up, they'll take away your medication. If you're in pain meds or if you're on methadone or something, then you'll get locked up, and then they'll try to, while you're locked up, to take away your pain meds or your methadone, to make your jail time so bad you'll end up instead of going through withdrawal, you'll kill yourself. And that's good old Christian Dallas right there. Yep. A very pro-life town, by the way. Very pro-life. And it's just like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. They're the type of people that act mad when somebody says the word fucking. Or a little, a beer, or, oh, you go to the bar. But then suddenly can engage itself in a suicide torture program to somebody who never hurt anybody. Even with the V2k, the remote neural monitoring, there was nothing in my background where I've ever hurt anybody. Knowingly, I just never have. There's nothing to blackmail me. I mean, nobody likes a person who's patting himself on the back. I've made mistakes, but they didn't hurt anybody else. I think once I got drunk and then somebody had to come out, drive a couple hours and pick me up. That was a bad thing, but I never, hurt anybody, slug anybody, or lied or steal from anybody. I just never have. And yet, I was obsessed with scrupulosity. It's the obsession with religion and ethics. Is this the right thing? Is that the right thing? Is this the good thing to do? And I think the only thing they can come up with as far as a bullshit story is that 25 years ago, I got some stuff from the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And, I was trying to figure out how to cure my scrupulosity. And then I was trying to figure out how do atheists think? I've studied people who are apostates for about 20 years, who are religious, leave religion, become atheists, atheists who leave atheism, become religious, the whole back and forth. It's just fascinating to me. And I'm a believer myself, believe in the fine-tuning argument, and believe in the soul, and I think free will does exist. Obviously, it's pretty impractical not to punish or praise people every day, so why praise or blame people if you don't secretly believe they can help but do it? So, and I think dualism is the only answer that can give to allows for free will. Anyway, with that as my background, I didn't have anything that they could do this to, and then it's like, well, it's not something I did, and that's what Peter Hoyenbreck Hoyenbroek. He's a TI from Belgium. He was talking on TI television, said, well, your city or town will try to make you think and feel that it's something you did. You did something bad. You smoked marijuana. You looked at porn or something, and that's why this evil has come upon you. My own doctor stopped at it when I was getting my medication for my side pain. My own doctor stopped the thing and said, nobody's going to help you. Nobody's going to help you for anything. All frantic and pissed, angry at me for something. And I was looking at him like, okay, I mean, everything was compliant for years, no problems, but he's freaking out. Nobody's going to help you. No one's going to help you with anything, freaking out and leaving it all vague. Like, well, what do you mean? Just nobody's going to help you. Here, you know. And I'm just like scratching my head. Oh, okay. And then a few months later, some cop was driving, and I never got in trouble with the police ever in Dallas, Salem, anywhere. And so again, a cop I had no idea was just driving back, and he just looks at me and he just smashes his steering wheel, and then stops his car, and then comes around pissed, like he's stopping, like I did something. And of course, that's the setup, is to make you think and then people start doing their phone thing, looking at you, doing this, doing that, talking about you with, and then to work at Dallas Retirement, where I worked since I was 21, with the exception of 5 years in Bend. And then some of the people there started doing this stuff too. So Dallas Retirement and its management was in on it too. Administration, yeah, part of the pressure to suicide program. Normally, I thought pretty good people and everything, but they're trying to cover up this whole idea. The reason why I had pain for 30 years is because I was part of this experiment without my knowledge, just a human guinea pig that when I was 14, when I was in their hospital in Dallas, they had put something in there to cause all this pain, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know they did it. And it wasn't until the V2k out of, coming through the walls first, and then now it's permanent. Because after I fell out of the window and broke my leg and my arms, then I realized a few months later, and learning to walk again in Dallas, that it wasn't just through the walls, it was coming like regular V2k. And it was the setup of what was happening. And nobody from Dallas said anything. Nobody said, hey, we feel shitty. We're Christian. We shouldn't be doing any of this. I mean, fanatical Muslims, as much as they think, Christians think conservative Christians think they're the best. They're holier, family values, the whole bit. And I used to kind of agree with them. They're good people. And then found out the whole thing of what happened. I knew somebody was screwing with me. I had no idea how big this thing was. I knew I didn't piss anybody off. I knew my whole life I never did. Not knowingly or even accidentally. If I even think, I'm pretty ruminate. With OCD, you ruminate throughout your day and just like, did I hurt somebody? The one thing that did happen is going through this process, whereas I always had scrupulosity and always thought about religion constantly. And I still times do, but I left Christianity because of the behavior of these Christians and my thirst and knowing it's like, yeah, I'm God, I still believe in and pray, but they have showed me I can't believe their example is shitty. And the one thing I have always considered the most important was a sincere towards God, sincerity toward in ethics. And the fact that these people that I was raised since I was 6 can turn around out of the promise of money and all their conservative family values, and turn on a dime because somebody in a blue shirt, police officer, or at City Hall, can suddenly give you 5 minutes of attention, say, hey, let's go help. We're going to try to teach this person a lesson because 25 years ago, he got an atheist book, or there's about 4 or 5 books on atheism, because we looked at his house and we made it sound like somebody else was going to buy the house, and then we pretended to be renters or buyers, and we were able to look around the house when he was gone, thinking we were going to buy the house and renters. And they were able to see that he had a couple of atheist books, and that's the big scheme. And it's just, now that I know this has happened to other people, it's just like, what a bunch of pieces of, I mean, they didn't even do evil things in a cool way. They're not evil in a cool way, Darth Vader. They're just dipshits. I mean, if you don't get caught and then you can high five each other and you came off, and if I'm dead, which I almost did die, and I had to learn to walk again, but because I didn't and I found out their whole Christian thing is just a crock of bullshit in Dallas, is they're just, I mean, Salem too, for all that matters. And they're just, ooh, a cop said something was nice to him. City Hall, ooh. And it's just, what a bunch of fucking bullshitters. The fanatical Muslims and the liberals that they hate so much. They hate Bill Clinton, they hate uh, Hillary, they hate Obama. Those people have never done anything on. Oh, somebody had a blow job. Clinton had a blow job. Somebody tore up their emails. Hillary Clinton got rid of her emails. The people of Dallas did a torture suicide pact and tortured me for 30 years without my okay with a torture program. My doctors didn't tell me anything about it. And then they tried to get rid of the evidence by trying to get me tortured and to commit suicide, to bury the evidence with me so that if I died and commit suicide, the evidence would be buried with me. And they turned it into a game where the police can do this to people and get points and money off it. That's how they make it fun and competitive. I mean, they turn it into an actual game. And then it's just like, after a couple of years, they just get, I would like to say ashamed, because I think that they have, no, they don't have any. The Christian thing that they try to witness to and sound spiritual. I'm not saying there's no at all sincere, but when it comes to Dallas, no, they would rather, it's people that I thought would be good, or it's just complete bullshit. So I'd rather be a Satanist, because in the history of the entire world, an actual Satanist, because in the history of the world, this stuff, this program is blamed on Freemasons, and it's blamed on Satanists and Freemasons. Now, there's Freemasons out there who are probably pieces of shit, but there's probably some that are good too. I know in my town of Dallas, it's mainly conservative Christians, people that I always thought were good people. I liked and defended. As a person who studied religion, I thought were good people. Evidently not. I saw the wife of somebody who was at the hospital, and I had no idea who the person was. I just thought it was a nice lady from Dallas, and then I found out the lady was part of it. And it's just like, just what a crock of shit. I'd rather be a Satanist that had some ethics. Because in the history of the entire world, there's been wars started by Christians, Jews, Muslims, and atheists. Stalin was an atheist. But I don't think in the history of the world, as much as Satan is supposed to represent evil, and everybody calls everybody who's evil a Satan, like Muslims call America the Great Satan, and that's satanic, or that's a cult, and that's satanic. Actual Satan himself has never caused a war between one Satanist versus another Satanist, or, I mean, all the other religions except maybe Jainism, there's never been a different one church of Satan versus another church of Satan. There's no debates over Satan's theology. I mean, it's kind of the Satanism that goes up today is more or less a fake type of atheism that claims to be Satanism. But if there's a fine tuner, I just can't look at the Christians who argue and act better than the liberal Christians, or they're right, but then get along and do a torture and suicide program for some money, and then they'll go home and watch Fox News and say that they're better people than the fanatical Muslims. And it's like, the fanatical Muslims, I don't know if they do this program, but the little town of Dallas, Oregon, with 15 to 20,000 people, I would never have guessed would have done something like that. It smacks totally against everything they claim to stand for, the Constitution, family values. And it's just like, what a crock of shit. And so is their faith. I mean, Jesus did say, the good tree cannot bring forth bad fruit, and all these people are bad fruit. So there's their apologetics right there. Them and their fruit, and go suck on it. They can go to church all they want to, and then get done with church. And how are we going to try to get that guy to kill himself? So I wonder if they're still going to try to get their pro-life money, because they're very pro-life. So fucking anyway, that's what my little testimony and starring thing was that. So that's my story of it, of what happened. And I went and I had finally have to go to the judge thing and the court thing because of it. Of course, they seem like nice people, but then of course they all know what's going on, and it's got to be an embarrassment. But my hope is that I'm going to keep on living because I can hear the V2k thing. Is I will keep on living for my own sake and my own happiness. But a second and equally important thing is to take them and their faith and rub it like a dog in its nose and shit, and make sure that the shame is so great that, like in the movie The Changeling, where the police tell Angelina Jolie, whose son is missing, maybe dead but missing, and then they force Angelina Jolie to say, "No, this is your son. Adopt it." Meanwhile, there was a child murderer around, but the police wouldn't listen to any of it, so they tried to force Angelina to accept a fake child because the pressure was getting to the police like they were getting. So they did such a cruel thing like that. Make a mom accept a fake child be her son, and then they covered up a child murderer because they couldn't find where all the other missing kids were. Anyway, I hope they had to name the the place in California, the city. It was so ashamed of it, they had to change their name from whatever to another name. Anyway, I would like to change the name of Dallas to Shame Filled Oregon. Piece of shit, Shame Filled Oregon. Dragons or whatever the mascot's going to be. Because they are pieces of shit. And so was their faith. Because all their pastors, all of their city hall didn't have 1 ounce of moral character. Christian character, Mormon character, Mennonite character, any character you want to be, Baptist, Assembly of God, Pentecostal, it doesn't matter. Not a fucking ounce. And all they'll be mad about is, well, he did say the F word. So, anyway, if you are a TI, there is some good people out there. Look up Ella Free, Ramola D. Um, and don't get in that big thing about, who's. Some people are targeted in different ways with gang stalking. I get the V2k and the electronic jolts, like somebody just suddenly hits me like that. I got to burn once, but I don't know. That could have been just the belt buckle. But some people get the belt buckle or the burn things. Some people get the hallucinations, and it's different for different people. And um, and don't get on that kick of, well, somebody is a real TI or isn't, because um, a person who's going through this, the one thing they know is how difficult it is. When you start getting in fights of who's are real and who isn't, first of all, if they do, just don't worry about it. If they say you are or aren't a real TI or this kind of stuff, then don't even let it bother them, because normally it's like a fart. The one who smelt it is the one who dealt it. If they start throwing that stuff, the ones who normally get accused of that being a fake ones are the ones who are loud, gregarious, calls everyone else a piece of shit in the world. And then part of their entertainment value is, and I do mean entertainment value, is to go on and call everyone else in the world a piece of shit. And then part of their fun, their bravado, is that person is this, that person is this. And when they start naming 5 or 10 people who are well known in the TI community. They're fake. That person's fake. This person's fake. That person didn't do this to me or wasn't nice to me on the phone. So I think they're a fake. They're this and that. Don't even play that game. If they do, start doing it just like, okay, whatever. Just, oh, okay. Um, just because if a real TI has gone through it, they'd be the first to know how horrible to go through and how it is such a hard thing to prove, because unless you can have a doctor who's going to do all the work and the wireless system and find one that'll be honest enough. It's not like Robert Duncan is next door or Dr. John Hall is right down the block. Um, then there's two, Staninger and Kidder, and those two seem to be the two names that all TIs talk about. Is I think Staninger, Hildegard Staninger, and Kidder. Those seem to be the two, and some doctor in Florida seem to be the two or three doctors in the entire TI community, and I don't get that. And Roger Tolsis is somebody who looks for the. So, why in the world there's only two or three in the entire world that seem to? I don't know. It's Staniger and Kidder, and God bless them if that's what they do. If they actually are helping, because I don't. I mean, wonderful. Thank God for them. Or private investigators, or something like that, or Roger Tolsis. But all I know is I saw um, the White House thing on targeted individuals in 2011 and 2012, and that's enough to made me realize this shit is not just me. And I think everybody goes through that. Is it just me? Is it just me? Are they just playing this game on me? Because their neighbors make it about you, your parents or your families plays this game like, is it a game? Do they know? Do they not know? And this whole trying to read minds. Um, and it's just such a weird thing. And it's like, is it me? Or is it other people? No, there really is other people going through it. And that's the thing, because it's hard to prove who is and isn't. But um, anyway, I can hear the V2k just say, please stop. Please, because they have to listen to me do this all the time. And then when I'm sleeping, then it's a zap and a zap. So anyway, my fellow TIers, thank you, Ella Free and Dr. Matt Arnegard. Thank you, Pax. Um, Realize that because of these good people, the pressure is building. And a lot of us started getting this treatment in 2016, 2017, start really in 2008. And in 2011, 2012, the White House had the symposium. You can see it on 131 Kimber or James Lico, Lico. And he's got the both of them have the White House symposium for targeted individuals. And James Lico, Lico, and 131 Kimber. And it was supposed to be on bioethics, but whenever I try it, bioethics gov, but whenever I look for it, the internet shuts down for some reason. Anyway, and there's Sherry's reviews, and she's a great TI, and Vulcan Wolverine. But it's starting to add up the pressure, and right now we're going through this pandemic thing and the George Floyd murder thing by the cops. So at least as a person who never got in trouble with the police or in anybody at City Hall, and suddenly out of the blue, after 47 years, 46 years of never having a run in with them or any problems, suddenly the whole town does this to me. Out of the blue. Jump out of the window. I had to learn to walk, the wrist thing, the whole bit. And conservative Christian Dallas wants to, oh, well, hide, like, what are we, oh, he's still alive. Great. So it's an embarrassment for them, but they don't have the honesty as Christians or whatever as human beings. So one of the fun things is knowing that this is going to haunt Dallas for maybe the rest of their life, and I'm happy to hear it. And I'm not going to, I left Christianity because the idea of loving my enemies is so repulsive, especially what I battled with scrupulosity. The idea of loving and praying for my enemies, I say, fuck that and fuck them and their faith. If anything, their inability to have an ounce of character shows whatever it is they're trying to be a light to the world for, that flame's been burnt out a long time ago. It's might as well become a Satanist. I still believe in God though, so I still pray. My own personal thing. So anyway, TIs, I hope get some inspiration. Feel free to write. Sometimes my handler will leave a message, a smart ass message. They can hear me right now. So, and yeah, I know you guys will. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. And my neighbors probably are listening to me too. So I'm trying to be quiet. It's 2 a.m. here in Salem, Oregon. So, all right. Bye, guys. It's Alan. End. End.